Solana update. Today, guys, we're going to be taking a look at the potential that Solana has in that next bullish market. There's going to be some interesting insights as to kind of where my expectations are for the Sol token and where I think things are heading in 2024 and 2025. Let's roll that intro and get right down into it. So hi and welcome back to the channel. Today, guys, we are, of course, going to be taking a look at Solana. Now, Solana is one of those projects that historically on the channel, we haven't been massive fans of. However, considering it did correct down all the way to $8, it has shown potential for significant growth to the upside. And we've seen 2023 showing phenomenal growth so far. Now, this potential for Solana in the longer term is something of immense interest to many individuals, including us here at Cheeky Crypto. Let's jump down into the charts and go through what's going on when it comes to Solana. So here we have Solana paired up with USDT. We're just on the 1-day Binance chart here. And of course, it is spot rather than leverage or anything like that. Now, with this, you can see such exponential growth in the previous bullish market from 2021 all the way through to the highs of 2021. So if we go and take the lows, from 2020 down here, where we saw a $1.03 Solana, it was absolutely phenomenal times. If you were around back in 2020, you were able to pick up Solana tokens for a significant discount. And we saw very good growth in 2021. This kind of growth, I think, is something that we're likely to see repeat itself into 2024 and 2025. It was 25,000% in the last bullish market. Now, don't get me wrong. They saw other altcoins doing phenomenally well, much better than 25,000% that Solana had. But 25,000% is better than most of the altcoins that we saw back in 2021. To name a few, Algorand, Stellar Lumens, Polkadot, all of these were really poor performers in comparison. Obviously, Ethereum and Bitcoin were obviously lagging way behind as well. We saw phenomenal growth with other altcoins such as Harmony One and Polygon's Matic. These were very similar to the potential that we saw here with Solana. So going back into our price chart here for Solana, 25,000% was absolutely phenomenal. Now, since this growth to the upside, we did see the bearish market come down. And with FTX, we actually saw a crash of up to 96.92%. I mean, it is just absolutely mind-blowing to think that Solana here actually crashed down 96.92%, and that presented itself with such phenomenal opportunities. Now, Solana in itself, it actually just had a pretty standard kind of correction of around kind of 91 or 90 percent. It would have been $20, and the growth potential from there still would be very, very good, but obviously not as good as $8. And for the most part, it's quite interesting to kind of see what's happening ever since we kind of had that low back in FTX crash, right? We saw this in December 29th, 2022, right? And we saw good growth into 2023 from here. Phenomenal moves to the upside, very impulsive in their way that they left that $8 range. We corrected down, and then we have this and other phenomenal growth to the upside. This is a very good starting point for Solana. This is something that we saw very similarly to 2021, right? Good growth to the upside on these initial surges. Now, we've seen two kind of key consolidations so far for Solana, right? So the first one really kind of started off up here, right? So basically from February 2023 over to the lows of June 2023, right? This was a 110-day span where we did see a pretty good drop to the downside for Solana. So let me actually go ahead and grab the tool here to show you the drop and the percentages, right? So it's a 52.8% drop in Solana. And from here, we saw another really good run to the upside, good growth. And now these particular patterns that we're seeing, and obviously we did see another consolidation range just up here as well, guys. This one being right here on the 14th of July, 2023. Down here, it was a 46% drop over 59 days, right? So we know that there's been two kind of key consolidation ranges, the first one over here and then the second one here, but we haven't had any decent consolidations until recently. Now, in the most recent price action, we can see here that we have started to cool off, and we are looking for the 50 EMA and the 50 SMA to turn into key support areas. Now, I don't have to tell you guys what would happen should we lose these 50 EMA and 50 SMA as support for Solana. If we do lose these ranges, we are, of course, going to be seeing a significant dip to the downside. So, word of caution, these areas simply must hold. Now, for reference, guys, we are talking about the 50 SMA coming in at $88 at the point of recording, and the 50 EMA $87 at the point of recording. Okay, so we know that if these are to be lost, we're probably going to be looking to come down towards these other support ranges at around $75. So we know that there's going to be slippage here. Now, for the most part, this won't be unusual because we are looking for a consolidation for Solana. Now, the pattern that's playing out here is still looking for a move upwards before we have this move to the downside. There's been a lot of speculations around, alt seasons and things like that. And we're going to see, in my opinion, a bit of a surge to the upside to finish off a structure here before we cool off a bit. And I do look for Solana to come down quite nicely over the next kind of couple of months or so. This is going to be a great accumulative phase, very similar to what we saw already around the kind of 56 or 46% moves that we had seen in this kind of ranging accumulative phase a little bit lower in the price chart when we were lower than the 200 EMA, which is obviously the white line here. So we will be looking for price to dip back. It's going to be a great opportunity to get into Solana ahead of where things are heading, which of course, guys, is the purpose of today's video, right? Today's video, of course, is to talk about, why I am bullish on Solana and why this is one to hodl because it has such significant potential to the upside in 2024 and 2025, right? So it's important that we understand that when we see these cumulative phases, we take advantage of those through the dollar cost average model, at least in my humble opinion. I'm no financial advisor. I cannot give you financial advice. All I can do is share my thoughts and opinions on the data in the charts as I personally see it. So let's go ahead and take a look at, the future potential here for Solana, right? So we can see a 25% run, a 25,000% run to the upside. This is what we are dubbing an A wave movement. Okay, we've had a great corrective structure into our B wave coming down 96%, getting us into that $8 range. Now, from this $8 range, we can see that we found upper areas of resistance right here on Solana at $26 to $28. And obviously, we found great support of both of these ranges at $14 to $15 and $18 to $20. Now, we have broken out to the upside, but I am looking for retests. And the obvious area for retest, I think, is going to be somewhere around here at $46. Now, with our low being down here, a B wave being complete, we are looking for a C wave structure. Now, the C wave usually mirrors that of the A wave, as in the C wave size is the same as the A wave, and sometimes it's 23.6% larger. So this basically means Solana is going to be mirroring out that 25,000% gain into that C wave structure, which means, yes, it's an incredibly lucrative opportunity to be invested in Solana. Now, obviously, we know it's going to be heavily pushed by a lot of those VCs who have so much exposure to this project, which means it's most likely still going to get pushed in 2024 and 2025 until, of course, their tokens are released to dump on the communities. So, if you're going to find these larger influencers that maybe are overly allocate or have too much allocation overexposed to Solana, they probably are going to be talking about Solana an awful lot and are going to be really pro everything that Solana are doing. We have to bear in mind, though, in 2021, there were a lot of issues in that bullish market with the chain being turned on, turned off. And, hopefully a lot of those problems are behind them. We've seen a lot of great updates. We've seen a great community being built out on the Solana. So I like to think that all those issues are behind us. But we have to bear in mind they did happen and they were always going to have been kind of niggling in the back of your mind as to whether or not it's going to have that kill switch flicked at some point if something were to go wrong. So just bear these things in mind. Hopefully the project's built out a lot more now. It's been a few years since those issues. Maybe the issues are behind it, but they did happen, and we want to bear in mind that they can happen again should something go wrong at Solana. So coming back into our chart here, we can see there is good potential growth to the upside for Solana. Okay, now my conservative target range is this first yellow box area just here. Comes in at $242 to $617. This here is essentially the 618 to the 786 fib scales. This is where I would expect our minimum expectations to be met on a C wave. Because the C wave in itself typically goes between 100 and 123.6% of our A wave, we often think about those higher moves, but we have to also bear in mind that there is a minimum expectation, and the minimum expectation is a double top with the previous bullish high at $259. So you can see here that the $259 previous all-time high happens to coincide with our 0.618 fib scale and will be a natural area to find resistance. The 786 is a little bit higher at $617, and therefore I think this is the most likely area where a new all-time high could be found for Solana ahead of that next big surge to the upside. Now, should we go ahead and find things in a much stronger position, we can go ahead and talk about things pushing up towards $2,000 Solana. That might just sound like an absolute pipe dream, but to be honest with you, it is something that is truly realistically possible for Sol. We want to bear this in mind that it's always possible that we do overreach and we overstretch, and we actually do manage to do something absolutely phenomenal here and reach $2,000. That there would put us at 25,000% from our $8 low. So we want to bear in mind that it's not necessarily going to happen. It's definitely no guarantee that we push up towards $2,000, and it is more likely that we're just going to hit as new all-time high, pushing out more towards kind of $400, $600 than it is that we hit $2,000. But it is a technical target that we want to bear in mind. So for everything Solana, I think, yeah, it's a pretty decent project overall. It has a great community being built out. There were some problems in the past that do look to have been resolved. And for the most part, I think this is worth an investment to get some multiplications on your initial capital. I think this is one to do more research on. Don't just go ahead and take my words blindly. Do your own research and come to your own conclusions. And if you do have access to a financial advisor, you should probably consult those guys and find out what their opinions are as well. They will know your financial situation a lot better than I do, as I know nothing about your financial situation, therefore cannot be a financial advisor. But why don't you check out this video here where I discuss the potential of VeChain and why I am so bullish on VET.